Letters from Father Christmas, as reproduced by J.R.R. Tolkien. Introduction. To the children of J.R.R. Tolkien, the interest and importance of Father Christmas extended beyond his filling of their stockings on Christmas Eve, for he wrote a letter to them every year, in which he described, in words and pictures, his house, his friends, and the events, hilarious or alarming, at the North Pole. The first of these letters came in 1920, when John, the eldest, was 3 years old, and for over 20 years, through the childhoods of the 3 other children, Michael, Christopher, and Priscilla, they continued to arrive each Christmas. Sometimes the envelopes, dusted with snow and bearing polar postage stamps, were found in the house on the morning after his visit. Sometimes the postman brought them, and the letters that the children wrote themselves vanished from the fireplace when no one was about. As time went on, Father Christmas's household became larger, and whereas at first little is heard of anyone else except the North Pole Bear, later on there appear snow elves, red gnomes, snowmen, cave bears, and the polar bear's nephews, Paxu and Valkotuka, who came on a visit and never went away. But the polar bear remained Father Christmas's chief assistant, and the chief cause of the disasters that led to muddles and deficiencies in the Christmas stockings, and sometimes he wrote on the letters his comments in angular capitals. Eventually, Father Christmas took on as his secretary an elf named Ilbreth, and in the later years, elves play an important part in the defense of Father Christmas's house, and store cellars against attacks by goblins. In this book are presented numerous examples of Father Christmas's shaky handwriting, and almost all the pictures that he sent are here reproduced. Also included is the alphabet that the polar bear devised from the goblin drawings on the walls of the caves where he was lost, and the letter that he sent to the children written in it. North Pole, Christmas Eve, 1923. My dear John, it is very cold today, and my hand is very shaky. I am 1924, no, 7 years old on Christmas Day. Lots older than your great-grandfather, so I can't stop the pen wobbling. But I hear that you are getting so good at reading that I expect you will be able to read my letter. I send you lots of love, and lots for Michael, too, and lots bricks, too, which are called that because there are lots more for you to have next year if you let me know in good time. I think they are prettier and stronger and tidier than Picabris, so I hope you will like them. Now I must go. It is a lovely fine night, and I have got hundreds of miles to go before morning. There is such a lot to do. A cold kiss from Father Nicholas Christmas. December 23rd, 1924. Dear John, hope you have a happy Christmas. Only time for a short letter. My sleigh is waiting. Lots of new stockings to fill this year. Hope you will like station and things. A big kiss. With love from Father Christmas. Cliff House, top of the world, near the North Pole, Christmas 1925. My dear boys, I am dreadfully busy this year. It makes my hand more shaky than ever when I think of it, and not very rich. In fact, awful things have been happening, and some of the presents have got spoilt, and I haven't got the North Polar Bear to help me, and I have had to move house just before Christmas, so you can imagine what a state everything is in, and you will see why I have a new address, and why I can only write one letter between you both. It all happened like this. One very windy day last November, my hood blew off, and went and stuck on the top of the North Pole. I told him not to, But the North Polar Bear climbed up to the thin top to get it down, and he did. The pole broke in the middle and fell on the roof of my house, and the North Polar Bear fell through the hole it made into the dining room with my hood over his nose, and all the snow fell off the roof into the house, and melted and put out all the fires, and ran down into the cellars, where I was collecting this year's presents, and the North Polar Bear's leg got broken. He is well again now, but I was so cross with him that he says he won't try to help me again. I expect his temper is hurt, and will be mended by next Christmas. I send you a picture of the accident and of my new house on the cliffs above the North Pole, with beautiful cellars in the cliffs. If John can't read my old shaky writing, 1,925 years old, he must get his father to. When is Michael going to learn to read, and write his own letters to me? Lots of love to you both, and Christopher, whose name is rather like mine. That's all. Goodbye, Father Christmas. P.S. Father Christmas was in a great hurry. Told me to put in one of his magic wishing crackers. As you pull, wish and see if it doesn't come true. Excuse thick writing, I have a fat paw. I help Father Christmas with his packing. I live with him. I am the great polar bear. Cliff House, top of the world near the North Pole, Monday, December 20th, 1926. My dear boys, I am more shaky than usual this year. The North Polar Bear's fault. It was the biggest bang in the world, and the most monstrous firework there ever has been. It turned the North Pole black and shook all the stars out of place, broke the moon into four, and the man in it fell into my back garden. He ate quite a lot of my Christmas chocolates before he said he felt better and climbed back to mend it and get the stars tidy. Then I found out that the reindeer had broken loose. They were running all over the country, breaking reins and ropes and tossing presents up in the air. They were all packed up to start, you see. Yes, it only happened this morning. It was a sleigh-load of chocolate things, which I always send to England early. I hope yours are not badly damaged. But isn't the North Polar Bear silly? And he isn't a bit sorry. Of course he did it. You remember I had to move last year because of him? The tap for turning on the Rory Borealis fireworks is still in the cellar of my old house. The North Polar Bear knew he must never, never touch it. I only let it off on special days like Christmas. He says he thought it was cut off since we moved. Anyway, he was nosing around the ruins this morning, soon after breakfast. He hides things to eat there. And turned on all the northern lights for 2 years in one go. You have never heard or seen anything like it. I have tried to draw a picture of it, but I am too shaky to do it properly, and you can't paint fizzing light, can you? I think the polar bear has spoilt the picture rather. Of course he can't draw with those great fat paws. Rude I can, and write without shaking. By going and putting a bit of his own about me. Chasing the reindeer and him laughing. He did laugh, too. So did I when I saw him trying to draw reindeer and inking his nice white paws. Father Christmas had to hurry away and leave me to finish. He is old and gets worried when funny things happen. You would have laughed, too. I think it is good of me laughing. It was a lovely firework. The reindeer will run quick to England this year. They are still frightened. I must go and help pack. I don't know what Father Christmas would do without me. He always forgets what a lot of packing I do for him. The snowman is addressing our envelopes this year. He is Father Christmas's gardener, but we don't get much snowdrops and frost ferns to grow here. He always writes in white, just with his finger. A Merry Christmas to you from the North Pole Bear. And love from Father Christmas to you all. Cliff House, top of the world, near the North Pole, Wednesday, December 21st, 1927. My dear people, there seem to get more and more of you every year. I get poorer and poorer. Still, I hope that I have managed to bring you all something you wanted, though not everything you asked for. Michael and Christopher, I haven't heard from John this year. I suppose he is growing too big and won't even hang up his stocking soon. It has been so bitter at the North Pole lately that the North Polar Bear has spent most of the time asleep and has been less use than usual this Christmas. Everybody does sleep most of the time here in winter, especially Father Christmas. The North Pole has become colder than any cold thing ever has been, and when the North Pole Bear puts his nose against it, it took the skin off. Now it is bandaged with red flannel. Why did he? I don't know, but he is always putting his nose where it oughtn't to be, into my cupboards, for instance. That's because I am hungry. Also, it has been very dark here since winter began. We haven't seen the sun, of course, for 3 months. But there are no northern lights this year. You remember the awful accident last year? There will be none again until the end of 1928. The North Polar Bear has got his cousin and distant friend, the Great Bear, to shine extra bright for us, and this week I have hired a comet to do my packing by, but it doesn't work as well. The North Polar Bear has not really been any more sensible this year. I have been perfectly sensible, and have learnt to write with a pen in my mouth instead of a paintbrush. Yesterday he was snowballing the snowman in the garden, and pushed him over the edge of the cliff, so that he fell into my sleigh at the bottom and broke lots of things. One of them was himself. I used some of what was left of him to paint my white picture. We still have to make ourselves a new gardener when we are less busy. The man in the moon paid me a visit the other day. A fortnight ago exactly. He often does about this time, as he gets lonely in the moon, and we make him a nice little plum pudding. He is so fond of things with plums in. His fingers were cold as usual, and the North Polar Bear made him play snapdragons to warm them. Of course he burnt them, and then he licked them, and then he liked the brandy, and then the bear gave him lots more, and he went fast asleep on the sofa. Then I went down into the cellars to make crackers, and he rolled off the sofa, and the wicked bear pushed him underneath and forgot all about him. He can never be away a whole night from the moon, but he was this time. I've never been expected to look after the man in the moon before. I was very nice to him, and he was very comfy under the sofa. Suddenly the snowman, he wasn't broken then, rushed in out of the garden, next day just after tea-time, and said the moon was going out. The dragons had come out and were making an awful smoke and smother. We rolled him out and shook him, and he simply whizzed back, but it was ages before he got things quite cleared up. I believe he had to let loose one of his simply terrificalist freezing magics before he could drive the dragons back into their holes, and that is why it has got so cold here. The polar bear only laughs when I tell him it's his fault, and he curls up on my hearthrug and won't do anything but snore. My messengers told me that you have somebody from Iceland staying with you. That is not so far from where I live, and nearly as cold. People don't hang up stockings there, and I usually pass by in a hurry, though I sometimes pop down and leave a thing or two for their very jolly Christmas trees. My usual way is down through Norway, Denmark, Germany, Switzerland, and then back through Germany, northern France, Belgium, and so into England, and on the way home I pass over the sea, and sometimes Iceland and I can see the twinkling lights faint in the valleys under their mountains. But I go by quick, as my reindeer gallop as hard as they can there. They are always so frightened a volcano or a geyser will go off underneath them. Well, this must be all. I have written you a very long letter this year, as there was nothing to draw but dark snow and stars. Love to you all, and happiness next year. Your loving Father Christmas. All right, I will stop there and wish you a Merry Christmas, and thank you for listening.